Big brother is watching you. No, no, Karl Marx, stop it. Okay, you and Socrates have both tried to take over my class. Okay, you're scaring the children. Okay, shame on, yes, you too, Socrates. Shame on both of you. Stop doing that. Welcome back. Don't pay any attention to them. Welcome back, everybody, to the Alyosha Society. We're going to keep on pursuing truth and beauty and goodness through great literature. And this is a classic. I mean, few people would not recognize Orwell's 1984. Much of the vocabulary we use in everyday language came straight out of 1984. And it's vocabulary that we didn't use in common speech before this novel came out. I'm going to keep wearing the red. The red, I think, is a good color that historically has referred to the kinds of totalitarian, horrible, violent, murderous regimes that have existed around the world. So let's go ahead and dive in. And here we are, guys. This is video number 2 out of 10 total. We had an introductory video, and now we're going to be looking at setting, geography, slogans, and ministries. So let's just get right to it. Let's get right to it. Now, you should be seeing a map come up. I'm going to have to figure out where to put myself. Okay, let's go down here. Sorry, guys. I want you to be able to see the whole map. This is the world of 1984. This is the world that George Orwell is describing. So what George Orwell is basically saying in this novel is it's 40 years into the future, and these terrible dictatorships have taken over the world, and most of humanity is living without freedom. And if we don't recognize some of the elements in these governments and in this world that happen to be in our world today, then this dystopian world could actually come about. So let's take a look at it. One thing that's very different is that there are only a few countries. There aren't, thousands of countries. There are only a few countries. So everything in pink would be the English-speaking world, and that's called Oceania. Oceania. And that is where the action is taking place in 1980. Winston Smith, the main character, and Julia, and O'Brien, and Parsons, and all these characters. This is all happening. Actually, it's happening in England, in what we would call England today, but it's not England in the novel. It's a part of this vast empire called Oceania, and it's all English speaking. That's what kind of binds it all together. Then you have Eurasia, which is obviously Europe and Asia, Eurasia. So you can see that extends all the way from Portugal over there to the west and to the farthest reaches of what we would call Russia today. So that's Eurasia. And Oceania is at war with Eurasia sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes they're at war with East Asia. Other times they're at war with Eurasia. And when they're at war with East Asia, they never were at war with Eurasia. And when they're at war with Eurasia, they never were at war with East Asia. Is that kind of creepy? Well, it should be. We'll talk about that later. East Asia would include China. Okay, you can see the map there, Japan, and a big chunk of what we call India today. Now, what about those tan areas? At least they're kind of tannish looking on my screen. Those are disputed territories. Orwell doesn't really talk a whole lot about them. We don't really know what he was trying to communicate about those areas. And you can see the biggest chunk of that is, of course, Central and Northern Africa, Saudi Arabia, and it looks like parts of, well, almost all of Iraq and part of Iran. And you can see it there. But this is the world of 1984. All right. So when you're reading the story and you see Oceania, it's pink. When they're at war with Eurasia, you can come back to this slide. That's the dark parts, East Asia, the I don't know what that is, fluorescent green or something. Okay, now I want to talk next about what we call the slogans of this totalitarian government, the slogans. What is this government all about? What makes it tick? Well, first of all, I'll probably be talking about this later, but the government is called Ingsoc. Ingsoc. You see that at the top there. That stands for English Socialism. Mr. Etter, English starts with an E. I know. It's just a phrase in a new language, because see, everyone's not going to be speaking English eventually in this dystopian world. There's going to be a new language, and the new language is called Newspeak. Newspeak. And we're having a whole lesson on Newspeak, so I'm not going to get into it right now. But the word Ingsoc is Newspeak for English Socialism. Now, what are the 3 slogans of this totalitarian government? I always joke with my students when I'm teaching this, and I say, all right, kiddos, I'm going to train you all how to be totalitarian dictators. They're like, what? Okay, whatever. Now, if you want to be a good totalitarian dictator, these need to be the slogans of your totalitarian government. The first one, war is peace. Now, all 3 of these slogans appear to be contradictory. They appear to be saying black is white and white is black. They appear to be saying the very opposite, but you gotta kind of tear it apart and look at it, and it'll make sense. War is peace. How is war peace? Well, think about it. Nothing unites a country more than a common enemy that everybody hates. You see, in the United States where I live, we have these 2 parties, 2 political parties called Republicans and Democrats. We also have independents. We have some other parties, but those are the 2 main ones. And they really don't like each other. They fight a lot. They have very different visions for America and ideologies and so forth. But if there's one common enemy to both of them, that is the only time that they actually kind of come together. They unite because we have this common thing out there that we hate. And that happened. That happened after the terrorist attacks of 9/11. I've never, ever seen our country more united than right after the terrorist attack, because both Republicans and Democrats came together and said, the people that did this are horrible and they're going to pay for it. And that's the one thing they could agree on. So that's what we mean by saying war is peace. That what this means is Oceania has to be at war, even if it's pretend, even if they're lying about it, even if they're just making it up in the state-run media. As long as we can say, hey guys, the bad guy is out there. We hate Eurasia. So we're going to be unified here. And you see, a unified country is a stronger country. So one way that the totalitarian government is stronger is that it creates, and in many cases, it's just pretend. It's not even true. They're lying to the people, but they're saying, hey, you need to support the government. You need to support Ingsoc, because we are all joined together in fighting that common enemy out there. So in that regard, war actually brings about peace and unity at home. Second slogan, freedom is slavery. How can freedom be slavery? They are opposites. Well, here's what it means. If you think, and let me give you another term here. The term is prole, P-R-O-L-E, prole. That's short for proletariat. If you've read Karl Marx, you know the proletariat, those are the common people. Those are the commoners. So I'll use the word prole. That just means your everyday worker. That's the person that's definitely being oppressed in this world. Okay. So if you and I, as proles, if we think, oh, I don't like Ingsoc, I don't like Big Brother, I don't like this horrible government, I want to be freed from it. What the government is saying is, no, you don't understand. That would only lead to your slavery. If you would only enslave yourself to Big Brother, that is true freedom. When you love Big Brother, when you embrace Big Brother and you obey Big Brother, that will bring you true freedom. Is it true? Of course it's not true. It's a big fat lie. War is peace is a big fat lie. Well, kind of. It's partially true. But these are lies that the government tells the people to keep them unified, calm, and obedient to Big Brother. So ignorance is strength. Okay, that normally we would think, well, that's not true, but here it is. The less you know, the better off you'll be. You don't want to know what's going on in the inner workings of this government. What they're really thinking is it's terrible, it's murderous, it's violent, there's bloodshed, torture is going on. You don't need to know that. You'll be better off, you'll be stronger if you're just ignorant. Now, once again, guys, is that actually true? No. No, these slogans aren't actually true. They are slogans that Big Brother, and when I say Big Brother, guys, I'm talking about, that's just a term that's used for the whole sort of overarching government. Is there one individual who is Big Brother? You don't really know. Probably, maybe not. Most totalitarian regimes do have one single individual who's kind of at the top of the heap. Okay, whoever that is, that's Big Brother. And Big Brother wants to keep you calm, tame, obedient, and ignorant. So war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Those are the three slogans of Ingsoc. Now, Ingsoc has three slogans. Ingsoc also has 4 ministries. Now, what do we mean by ministries? Well, I don't mean like a gospel ministry. I don't mean like, feeding the poor or sharing the gospel. What we mean by ministries are the same kind of way that we think of government ministries today. Like the Department of Education or the Department of Defense. Those are ministries. And so Ingsoc has 4 ministries. Let's look at them. The first one is the Ministry of Truth. And what I'm going to give you in bold red here, friends, I'm going to give you the Newspeak term for that ministry. Now, again, remember, I'm going to talk to you about Newspeak in a later video, but the whole idea with Newspeak is to shrink vocabulary. If you shrink vocabulary, then you shrink the ability of the proles to think, to think creatively. If they start thinking, then they're going to realize they're not free and they're going to want to overthrow Big Brother. We want to keep them, fat, dumb, and happy, or fat, dumb, and fat, dumb, and stupid. I don't know. But so the Ministry of Truth is also called Mini-True. Now you would think, oh, that's a wonderful thing. We have an entire section of the government devoted to truth. No, guys, in Orwell's world, everything is the opposite of what it appears to be. So the Ministry of Truth is actually the Ministry of Lies. This is what we call the state-run media. The state-run media. So in your totalitarian training, if you're going to be a totalitarian dictator, you can't have a free press. You can't allow, NBC and CNN and ABC and Fox News. You can't allow those media outlets to go out there and do their own thing. They're going to report bad things about you. You have to control the media, so you control the narrative, you control the information, and you tell them whatever you want them to hear. So Mini-True looks at stories and news events, and if there's anything about a news event that would damage the reputation of Ingsoc or Big Brother, they erase it. They eradicate it. If anybody, is going to try to stand up and oppose Big Brother, they're going to erase that person. You're never going to be able to get online. Of course, this is 1949. There was no internet then anyway, but you're not going to be able to find, a speech and watch a speech that's critiquing Big Brother or Ingsoc. Minitrue will see to. So Minitrue rewrites history, rewrites the news, and controls the flow of information to the people. That would be newspapers, that would be news outlets, that would be magazines, books, any kind of information that's going out to the people. Minitrue is going to make sure that it is positive and makes Big Brother look really good. Second ministry called the Ministry of Love, aka Mini Love. Hope you like the spellings of these words here. Mini Love. Now, it sounds like a wonderful thing, but it's really terrible. The Ministry of Love is the ministry of hate. If you oppose Big Brother, if you are trying to overthrow Big Brother, then they're going to take you to the Ministry of Love, which is actually the ministry of torture. You will be tortured, and you will be questioned, you'll be interrogated, and you will be tortured some more and some more until you finally submit and you say, I love Big Brother and I will obey Big Brother. And what they're really doing is brainwashing. This is brainwashing. They will torture you so much that psychologically you don't exist anymore. Your brain is just sort of a blank slate. You don't feel anything anymore. You don't think anything on your own anymore. They have reprogrammed you. That's what it is. The Ministry of Love is a reprogramming of people who are showing any signs of opposing the government. Now we have Mini Plenty, the Ministry of Plenty. Now you would think that this would sort of be like, say, the Ministry of Agriculture or the Department of Agriculture in our government. Well, yeah, that's what it would normally be. But now it's the opposite. It's how do we control and ration the amount of food that the people get? And so you'll notice, friends, and this happened with the Soviet Union. This has happened in North Korea. I believe this has happened in modern day China, where these totalitarian regimes seem to be accompanied by lots of death and lots of famine and lots of poverty in order for this oligarchy, these few people to have all this power and all this wealth. So the Ministry of Plenty is actually the Ministry of Food Rationing, of controlling the amount of food that the people get. Pretty brutal stuff. And then finally, the Ministry of Peace. Doesn't that sound like a wonderful ministry? Many Pax. Pax is just a Latin word for peace. So that's kind of how they came up with that. It's actually the Ministry of War. So this would be the part of the government that's responsible for fighting, for wars, but also, I think, for communicating this false narrative that war is peace, that we're always at war with either Eurasia or East Asia. And just that whole machine that keeps the idea in the people's heads that we are unified here, we have peace here because we have war out there. Goodness gracious. Well, it doesn't get any prettier, guys. I'm sorry. This is that's what a dystopian novel is by definition. It is an ugly, disturbing world. Well, this is the second of 10 videos. In the next video, we're going to be looking at the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood. So be sure you're checking Canvas for your reading assignments before you begin, each video. Again, just a reminder, the whole idea with the 10 videos here with 1984 is that I'm doing them thematically, not sort of chronologically through the book. So if you're watching this separately, just as a one-off, book and a set of videos, then you should read about 25 or 30 pages in between each video, and that'll serve you well. Okay, friends, video number 3 coming up. See you then.